Beautiful. Hey, folks. Firstly, thanks for making the time to come in and giving me the opportunity to have a chat with you and get to know you. So, Stewart Kreltszheim. My nickname for many years has been Sooty, and to the disgust of our HR department, I'm really comfortable with that. I'm 36 years in CFA, a volunteer at Baronia when I first started. Started off in District 8, but for the last 26 years, I've been in the northeast of Victoria at Wangaratta. Been the officer in charge, ops officer of the station there, and then the AGFO for a lot of years. December last year, Nat and I decided to move in together, and she lives in Frankston. She's a city girl, so I moved back down to Southern Metro and took on the AGFO regional commander job. I good mates with Daryl Hunter, Donnie Tompkins, Miles Malcolm, in the district there. Mark Reed, prior to that, I'm really good friends with Stewie and Trace at Malakuta. I've travelled with them a couple of times, and we're travelling together again next year. So, and I was there at Malakuta on New Year's Eve a couple of years ago. So, I'm being given the opportunity just to have a chat to you about incident management and what my job entails in that, and hopefully give you a bit of a taste of it, and maybe something you might like to do in the future. So, firstly, my job as the Assistant Chief Officer Regional Commander is the best job in CFA. I had yours is the best job, Carlos. Is that what you're saying? Yep. Okay. Well, I'm the, let's say, top two, and the reason for that is I get to develop our volunteers and staff when they want to go on the next stage of their journey and continue their leadership and incident management roles. So everyone who comes through my door is actually someone who wants to learn and wants to progress. I'm really keen because we've been in a situation where people have felt that they have to finish their firefighting career and then move into these incident management roles, but it's something you can do concurrently. You can start your journey and take it nice and slow, or you can fast track yourself if you're keen. And some of that fast tracking is about the skills you have in life that help you along. So I'm going to share my screen and spend a bit of time just, I suppose, myth busting the incident management team, instant control, and happy to take any questions as you go by. So here we go. So I'm not going to go to presentation mode, so I'll lose you, but I want to tell you a couple of stories. So December 2016, I was the Deputy Incident Controller at Wangaratta ICC. And we were fighting this bushfire that came out of the grassland from Shepparton Way and went into the Warby Ranges. So it's just to the west of Wangaratta. And I walked into the lunchroom and there was a copper talking to the local council person. And that person the copper was saying he just got a mouthful from a cherry grower out on the Yarrawonga Road because he was trying to get his cherries to the London cherry farm so they could go into refrigeration and then be transported to Melbourne. But we closed the road. So what happened after that conversation? We said, well, why do we need to have the road closed for 24 hours a day? Is there an opportunity for us to have a look at that roadway and see if it's safe? And then at 5 o'clock every day, meet all the cherry farmers at Kilawara Fire Station, escort them in, let them dump their cherries, and then escort them out again. And there was. So we were able to do that, and the farmers were able to get their cherries to market. So going back a few years, September 1998, and it was the Longford gas plant. And I was a very junior fire working in the State Control Centre, which used to be at CFA headquarters in Burwood. And I was cleaning the whiteboards, and there was three gas plant representatives, gas company representatives sitting in the back there. And they were having this conversation about Longford went up and the gas supply stopped going down the pipeline. And what was happening was there was more and more air getting into the gas pipeline, just getting a little bit more. And for those of you, the firefighting and fire science 101, if you look at a gas flame on your stove, you see that first little part of when it comes out of the stove, it's not burning because it's too rich to burn. Then it goes blue as it mixes with a bit more air, and then when it gets to yellow, it's mixed. It's got this really good mix of air and gas that creates the flame. So they were saying that if we get too much air in the pipes, that it could go bang and explode if it was exposed to a naked flame. So after that conversation, we actually started SES and CFA, what they called Operation Gas Safe. And we went to every household in metropolitan Melbourne and we turned off their gas supply. So they would not use gas, so we could conserve and keep the gas in the pipeline too rich to explode. The next one I've got here is October 2023, and you might remember this. We had this fire up at that Hayfield ICC, and we had floods that same afternoon. So Locksport, it was a crazy day, but they were telling everyone down in that Locksport area that there was no telecommunications. And then Telstra went down there and they filled up their generator. So they said, everything's fixed, everyone can communicate. But what had happened was that Telstra had filled up the generator that went to their infrastructure, but they didn't fill up the infrastructure that went to the Optus tower or the Vodafone tower. So a lot of people were without communications and we couldn't issue emergency warnings. So through some conversations with the telcos, we were able to do a shared arrangement where we got fuel and got the powers up and running, and the Telstra and Optus and Vodafone were all up and running. And the reason I'm sharing these three stories with you is that we are really good at fighting the fire. We're really good at the hazmat, but what we are pretty ordinary at is understanding the needs of our community and making sure that the consequences of these events are limited. And that's where the incident management team and the incident control centre at a high level come into play. So when you walk into, and can I just have a little bit of a show of hands? Has anyone walked into an exercise or an ICC and seen them all in the bibs, the blue bibs and there? Have you seen that at all? Okay. Right. So if you walked in, I'm here at the District 9 headquarters at Warragul today, and upstairs is an incident control centre. And when that's up and running, you'll have 40 or 50 people, and they're all walking around in different coloured bibs. So the incident controller, which is normally where I play, I wear a white bib, which is really awful when you have party pies and you can drop a bit of sauce on it. But you got operations are in red. You've got logistics in blue. You've got planning in, thanks, Cam. Thanks. You got planning in yellow, and you've got public information in brown. And those colours are the functions that we use to manage a large fire or a large incident. But take it out of fire and pretend you were organising my 60th birthday. So the incident controller is my mum, who says, I want a 60th birthday for my son. And then how do you organise that? Well, operations is probably going to be my kids, who are going to run the event on the day, make sure that it all's happening. But then you got the logistics people in the blue who are doing the catering, who are making sure the accommodation's happening, who are doing all those things that need to be done to help it put together. Then you've got the planning people who are saying, okay, well, we need to have a band. We need it to go from 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock. So they're planning the event about the time, the space, all those things that they're going to put into effect over the next couple of weeks. And then you've got our public information people who take the photos for the media. They send out the invites. They make sure the coppers know, the local neighbours know that there's a party going on. So why I'm sharing that with you is because this operation is really just a system of work which you can do for anything. We just happen to utilise it to manage emergencies. So in operations and planning, you probably need a bit of firefighting background. You need to have an idea about the tactics and the strategies. But to be a logistics person, if you're you work for a freight company, or you work for a hotel doing accommodation, or you work for a catering business, or you just seem to have you're a good organizer, you probably would fit beautifully in a logistics area. If you're a really good community member and you are really good at connecting with your communities and talking at events and making sure that people get information, you're probably pretty good in a public information space. So, you could have other life skills that fast track you into these areas, and you can be part of the incident management team. So I want to show you again just the basic function. So here's the incident control center, where you might have people around in the planning functions and working with, in this instance, the SES over there, because it's a flood. So we use it for flood, for fire, doesn't matter what the hazard might be. I get really nervous when I walk into an incident control center and I see all the yellows talking together and all the reds talking together and all the blues talking together, because people are working in silos. I really like it when I have a blue talking to a red talking to a yellow, because it means people are walking around and communicating and sharing information, which is really, really critical. So these are the functional management of AIMS ICS, Incident Control Systems, Incident Control Centres, Australasia Institute of Incident Management, so another acronym which CFA are absolutely famous for. But there is the components of an incident management team: planning, intelligence, public information, operations. Coppers use investigations more than we do, logistics and finance. Now, that is scalable. So as things get more and more complex, you bring more people in, but they just sit under the structure and the leads. So operations will have divisions and sectors and strike teams underneath that. Public information will have media and information and warnings, all that sort of stuff. So it all sits up there. So it's scalable. It can get big or it can get small depending on the type of event. So just going to stop sharing here. So that's just a brief understanding of the incident controller and what they do. And the primary job of the incident controller is to set an objective. And that objective will be something like, we're going to try and stop the fire from crossing this road by 3 p.m. in the afternoon. And then all the team goes, okay, righto, everyone, let's try and stop the fire from crossing the road, and the incident controller then sets up his structure and manages his team to try and get that outcome. Sometimes we work within the CFA environment, but sometimes we work for SES, or one of the things that they're working on at the moment is bird flu. So there is a incident being run for bird flu. Lead agencies are Department of Primary Industry, so Department of Ag, and they're running that response to bird flu utilising the principles I've just talked about. And the other things would be cyclones or whatever. But as I said, it's just a system of work. It could be anything. So I'm just going to pause there and see if there's any questions or any feedback or any reflections that anyone might have. Okay.
They're quiet, aren't they, Stu?
Yeah, that's it. Coles, you've worked in.
I don't think there's any questions. It's pretty. It sounds like it's straightforward. It's keep it simple, stupid in a way.
It is a bit, Jake.
Because we're all here being very, very quiet.
No, not at all. Listen, you guys are going to be doing an expanded version of what Stu's just talked about as far as all of the sections in an incident. Next time we meet, you're going to be doing that with Mike Wilmot. So tonight we're learning about decision making and insight. So Stu, what was a question you were going to ask me?
So you've played in incident management team, Coles, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many.
So yeah. So what are the roles? Some of the roles you've played?
I've been in management support, which I actually think is the best job out there because I get to trot around after the incident controller or deputy incident controller and know everything that's going on, and be able to talk to people and network and connect. But I've just trained. I trained as a public information officer, and part of their role is to map out the incident so that the emergency warnings go to the right spots. And I sat very closely to them during the fires at Horsham at the Grampians, and their role was I don't even know why I went and trained for it because I'm not accurate enough for it, but they have to make sure that the lines on the map will send messages to the aged care home or the school. So when they're drawing their lines, they have to be looking right in on the map to make sure that they've got those buildings inside the line so that they're going to get the right warnings at the right time. There's a lot in PIO, and that was not for me. So I swapped over to logistics because I actually have a degree in logistics. So I thought that was probably a better fit. And yeah, logistics comes very naturally to me because I'm good at organising. We'll see how we go when I'm actually doing catering or accommodation and those sort of things. But I went on a trip to Broome, to the Fitzroy River floods with a contingent from Victoria of about, I think there was 25 of us that went over. And while we were over there, some of the people were helicoptered into Fitzroy River and the rest of us were at the Incident Control Centre in Broome, which was tiny. And we had the Army working with us as well, because the Army can do things that nobody else can do, like get planes and boats and things very quickly to the places they need to get them to. And working with them and seeing how professional they are was amazing. But one of the standout things for me at every ICC that I've ever worked at was the ground support people. And in a lot of cases, those ground support people were SES members. So they would come in and set things up and pull things down and ferry things out and pick things up, and they just ran errands all day long. That's all they did, was run errands, and they were very, very good at it. It wasn't like that in the floods, but it was like that when I've done fires and stuff like that. We've got in our district, we've got a number of people who are in incident controller roles, and they're older people. And that's why Stu is talking about, you know, we need to get younger people in to these sort of roles and learning these sort of roles. And I guess one of the best ways to start doing that is to get on strike teams and learn that. Get into DivComs when you're not on a strike team. Get into a DivCom, Hannah. That's one of the best things that you'll be able to do, because you've got one at Johnsonville that's always active. Yeah, get on those if you want to do that sort of thing. So, Stu, I was wondering if you could tell us, you told us a little bit about decision making at the start there. I'm just trying to think of, can you tell me a situation where you've had to take a whole stack of information from different departments in a meeting and make a difficult decision at a job?
Yeah.
I should have given you these questions first, shouldn't I?
No, that's
making
fine.
them up.
So District 11, let's reflect back on Malakuta. My job at that time was, I was the staff officer to Steve Warrington, and he was the CEO and chief officer at the time. So Steve asked me to go to Bairnsdale and help out the local district. From there, I got sent to Orbost, and then from Orbost, I got actually sent to Malakuta. So as you know, Bairnsdale to Malakuta is a long way. So the incident controller, the person in charge, was at Bairnsdale, and they'd made some assessments of Malakuta, and they said, we've got to close the roads. We can't get people in and out. The roads are too dangerous. So I was talking to a copper, and I'd just driven from Orbost, and the road was open. And the copper had just driven from Eden, and the road was open. So we've now got this information that's contrary to the information that the boss has got, the incident controller. And I'm divisional commander, so I'm reporting to an operations person, who's then the operations person was talking to the incident controller and reporting to the incident controller. We had to make some decisions there locally to say, no, we're going to start telling people to move. And we made an assessment that people had 2 to 4 hours to get out of Malakuta and get to Eden, but they had to go now. So I reckon we got about 2,000 to 3,000 people out at that period of time. And there was a fair bit of kickback that we'd gone against the advice of the boss. But we were on the spot. We actually had the better information. And from then, we had some really good intelligence that told us where the fire was, and we had a bit of an idea of where and how strong it would come in. And we spoke to the community that was there, and there was Stewie Johnson as the copper at the time. He's now the first lieutenant of Malakuta, Tracy's husband. Then you've got, we had Sharon, the local AMBO. We had Dash, the local parks guy. And we had we also had, just trying to remember, Rod, the local captain at the time. So we had a really good team of people from different agencies who had a pretty good idea of what the fire was going, and we used the information we gathered to make some decisions, which got some people out. We then communicated with the local people and told them that if they listened to us, they were safe. If they did not panic, they were safe. We also knew that that at some stage the power would fail and telecommunications would go out. So at that stage, we made the decision that, and we told as many people as we could, that when we saw the fire coming 15 minutes beforehand, we would turn on our sirens. And 15 minutes before the fire came, probably it was about half an hour in the end, the 17 fire trucks, the 2 DSE, the 4 cop cars, and the 2 ambulances all put on their sirens. And everyone knew to enact their fire plan and to go and protect themselves. Now, some people didn't know that message, but when they heard the sirens, they knew something was going on and they went to safety. So, that joint decision making with really good information led to the fact that no one died at Mallacoota. There was no serious injuries. We tragically lost, 100 plus houses. But at the end of the day, everyone went home. So that's probably probably one of the best example of collaborative decision making to get a really good result.
And Stu, how long were you in there for altogether at Mallacoota?
Yeah, so I got in on the 30th. And I was up for a fair bit of the night on that night of the 30th. And then I flew out on the 2nd.
Yep.
Yeah.
And when did the boat come to pick the tourists up?
That was after that.
Yeah.
Yeah, the strike teams that were in there, and because there was 3 strike teams got in, one from District 2, one from District 14, and one from District 13. And apart from the locals, that was the only resources there. And we worked pretty much flat out and didn't get a lot of sleep for 2.5 days. So once we got fresh crews flown in, we just hopped on the helicopters and flew out.
Yep. So it was all helicopters coming in and out.
Yeah. The big Sikorsky's S61s can have 20 odd people on it, and when 2 of them came in, and we got the crews out on that day, which was really, really good.
Yeah. So, guys, have you been to Mallacoota at all? Has any of you been there? A couple said yes, a couple said no. So, for those who haven't been in there, it's one road in, one road out situation. That road there's the Princess Highway goes up to Genoa and then heads up towards Eden. And there's the Mallacoota Genoa Road goes into Mallacoota, and it's about 30 kilometres into Mallacoota. It's very windy. There's no shoulder on the road, and the trees are super high on both sides, sort of coming over the top in some places. There's a lot of inaccessible bush around Mallacoota, and there's a big sort of lake system in there, and on the other side of the lake, you can't even get into some areas. There's just no access in there. Last year or the year before? I think it might have been last year when we were at Hayfield, Stu. There was fires at Mallacoota in that inaccessible area, and they were being managed out of Hayfield because there was no incident control centre built any closer. But I see there's a new one getting built at Can River.
Yeah, it'll be a smaller one, but
Yeah.
certainly they're keen on pushing control a little bit closer to that. Yeah.
Mm. Oh, it looks like it's the same site as this hayfield.
Is it?
I drove
Okay.
past the other day. I had a look and went,
Oh,
"Ooh, that's interesting."
Okay. Yeah.
Because I'm a sticky beak. I was going to ask you about agencies, working with other agencies. I have done work with other agencies on floods, and that's always an interesting time when you're under the control of, say, SES. They do things a little bit differently, but in the AIM structure, I guess everyone just falls into the AIM structure. They're a little bit tougher in their logistics and giving out supplies, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
They're tighter. They're tighter than us.
So
What would you say?
Sorry, Stu.
Yeah, so just basically fires and incident are classed in at three levels. So level 1 is the stuff that a brigade would turn out to on a regular basis. It's the car accident, it's the shed fire, it's the the small grass fire, goes for maybe an hour. First attack, maybe second attack, nails it. Level 2 is a little bit more complex. It means that the first attack's failed and you need resources, and you may have a couple of other agencies involved in that. And that might be DECA, Parks, FRV, whatever it might be. They get involved in it. When it gets to level 3, it becomes what they call a major emergency. And when it gets to level 3, I no longer work for CFA. When I'm the incident controller level 3, I actually take my CFA shirt off and I put a Victorian shirt on, Emergency Management Victoria. And what that signifies is that I'm working for the state of Victoria now, and I'm agency blind, and that that is designed to ensure that the SES person or the CFA person or the FRV person or the DECA person, it doesn't matter what shirt you're wearing or what agency you're from, we have a structure and you listen to the guy you report to or girl you report to. So it works pretty well. As Kyles was saying, sometimes there's a little bit different the way they manage floods to they manage the fires and whatever, but you do get used to that after a while. Course floods are a lot slower moving. Give me fire any day than floods. And there's not a lot you can do in many instances. At least we can put wet stuff on the red stuff, but floods, there's only so many sandbags you can fill. It's all about getting people out of the way a lot of the time. So that's the sort of system we work across different agencies. But it's pretty cool.
Andre, did you have a question?
Who sets the hierarchy when you're wearing in a level 3 incident?
So on a day of well, firstly, we're all accredited. We go through a panel and says, okay, I'm a level 3 incident controller, and the chief signs me off and makes a recommendation every year to the Emergency Management Commission and say, Stewie's an incident controller. So we've got an agreement with the other agencies that say when we have a stand-up day, it's hot and it's dirty and it looks like a bit, we've got a list and says, CFA, you're going to provide the incident controller. DECA, you're going to provide the planning officer. And we share it around. And then the next week, it might be a different roles are filled by different agencies. But it's a starting point. And then when we do get a fire and we have to build and build and build, we put out requests to the districts and the different agencies and say, we need management support, we need logistics, we need who can provide these things. And we go, yeah, we've got a few people we can chuck in. We got to, etc. So it's all it's all talked about, it's all exercised, it's all documented. So when the balloon goes up, we've got a fair idea about what we're heading. Some stuff we have to make up on the run, no doubt about it. But generally speaking, we've got a head start. Mate, Andre, does that answer your question, mate? Is that?
Yeah, it does.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, cool.
Just to add on to that, Stu, so when there is going to be those bad days, starting from the district level, and you guys will see this at the next session, we have a district control centre. And in the DCC, we work the jobs and the stand-up days from a local perspective. We know our strike teams that are going out. We know we've got intel locally set up and that sort of thing. So there's 2 or 3 people from the district staff that are sitting in the DCC. Then we have a regional control centre, and that one is at Traralgon for the Southeast region. For the Southeast region / Gippsland, whereas Southeast region / Southern Metro is at, which Stu is in charge of, is at Dandenong. So for Gippsland, we're at Traralgon, and we have a team of people will go in there, and they will be looking at specifically managing the whole area and getting the resources. So there's a couple of people from my volunteer sustainability team who wear the resources hat, and resources sits underneath the planning division. And they ring people and say, hey, it says on the availability tool that you're available to get deployed, or you're available to come into the incident control centre and work as a logistics, as a public information, whatever it is. So they actually get on the phone and ring people and fill the spots. In the background, there's someone sitting there in the logistics space saying, right, we've got 5 people coming from Bairnsdale, we need to send a plane. So they'll send a plane to Bairnsdale, like if we're going to the Grampians, for instance, and they'll pick us up from there. So from a region, they do that stuff, and then the state are looking at the bigger picture, and the state are looking at all the different fires that are going on or events that are going on at that time. And was it last summer? No, not last summer. Last summer was terrible. The summer before, when we had the incidents at the Grampians, there was also an incident down near Wilson's Prom, and there was another one in the Otways. And from the State Control Centre, they have to say, okay, we need 30 people at that place and 30 people at that place and 30 people at that place. And that's where they come in and start dripping it down to the regional control centres, who then drip it down to the district control centres. So that's how they staff all of those places. Then there's, so on top of that sort of overarching part, there's the actual incident control centres, and they're the ones looking at just the incident. So when you look at a picture of it, there's arrows going in and out of each one, and they're all, it's just this whole lot of bubbles all interconnected. How it works when it gets really busy. Sometimes it's only 3 steps, but sometimes if there's a lot of fires going on, like the Black Summer fires, there was a lot of incident control centres, and there was district control centres, and then there was DivComs. So below the district control centre, we've got DivComs, which are the divisional command, and they're our people on the ground and our people that like a lot of people in Tambo Group, they look after the DivCom and the strike teams, and everyone forms up there and goes along. So yeah, there's a lot of stages.
Yeah.
It gets complicated.
Yeah, and it's at the end of the day, you know, we've got all these, we've got the systems, but it's an emergency, and you know, things happen and no two different fires are the same, and no two different emergencies are the same, and even sometimes and I want to share something with you about evacuations. You know, you think to yourself, okay, I'm going to evacuate this area, and so just um. So just give me a thumbs up when you can see that little map. That's we're good, thank you. So so what it is this is a fire reconstruction from from Ash Wednesday 1983, and we said if we were to do this fire right now, with all the new traffic and all the roads and all the people, how would we go? Because people want to go, oh, we've got to evacuate. We've got to send community messages out and say, get out of there. So, so can you see those little dots moving around?
Mhm.
Yeah, so these are cars, a simulation of cars. And see that fire is now getting bigger, and now the word's gone out, and people are now trying to evacuate, and they're taken to the roads. And the red bits are the people who just going about their business. There's different colours, but the real thing is about the amount of volume of traffic that's now hitting the roads during this fire. And like most of our fires, they go from north to south, and then the southwesterly wind comes along and then starts pushing it to the east. So the flank of the fire becomes the head of the fire. This is traditionally what happens. It's what happened at Malakuta. What happened at King Lake and Marysville, and when all the damage. It's a southwesterly wind change that creates. So now we've got all these people on the road who are getting trapped and having accidents and causing dramas. So, you know, the thing about, do we evacuate? We got to understand the repercussions and the consequences of what we're doing. And are we better off asking people to shelter in place and stay where they are? We know that when we evacuate a nursing home, an aged care facility, the chances are that we have to accept a 20% death rate. So sort of think that again, you know, so we go in and we're moving people into ambulances and people who are sick and whatever out of their comfort zones and whatever, and they are starting to get highly stressed and whatever, and we will lose a 20% of those people we try and evacuate. Wow, so wow. You know, there's some other things that that we need to be really conscious of. And remember when I was talking about the cherries and the gas and all those things, if you look at the number one job and priority for us when we're attending to an incident is the preservation of life and property and the relief of suffering. Now, people are really good with the first bit, life and property. They get that. Save the lives, save the house. But this relief of suffering one is really, really something we've got to turn our heads to. Because if I wreck a farmer's, who's doing it hard, he's had a really hard year, and all of a sudden a fire comes through and he can't get his cherries to market, or he can't feed his cattle, or he can't water his cattle, or whatever, the stress that puts on the farmer and his family is immense. And yeah, the Corrion fires a couple of years ago, we had 9 farmer suicides 6 months after the fire, because people who were so stressed because they'd lost their livelihood. Now, to me, that is a death caused by that fire, but it doesn't show up on a record. So we're going to turn our minds to going, how do we relieve the suffering of these people during this emergency as well? And it's really critical part of our role.
Taking that down to a smaller, not smaller, but from a firefighter point of view, you don't run into a house and put water all over everything. You go in and do a search and rescue before you start putting water everywhere inside a house. You don't trample on everything in a house if you can help it. You're careful if you can help it. So, and that's Stu was talking about those suicides. There were so many farmers whose their tanks had melted and they had no water, and they had all of these cattle and sheep that had to be fed, and they could get away with it for a couple of days, but they can't get away with it for more than that, because then they've got to go out and shoot them, and that takes a toll as well. So that's one of the big things that incident controllers are balancing every day. Every decision that they make from an incident control centre is making sure that the consequences, and it's working with the MLOs. So what's the acronym MLO mean, Stu?
So Emergency Management Liaison Officer. So it's someone, the gas company, the coppers, an agency who are liaising with you to help solve that problem. And Coles, it's a really good point, because even at we can make a difference at brigade level, at crew leader level in this.
Yep.
So, and we've all done it, and I've done it. You go to a car accident and, someone's, or a house fire, and someone's had one of the worst days of their lives, like they've lost stuff. And we're pretty good fireys at the black humour. So, we go over the side and we have a bit of a joke, like with whatever. And can you imagine turning around and seeing the fireys having a giggle when you've just lost your house or whatever, So I get it. It's a part of the way we download and relieve the pressure, but we can make a difference by just taking that around the corner, because it's amazing what people do pick up. It's about going up to the person who's sitting on the side there and giving them a bottle of water and saying, hey, are you okay? How you doing? And showing people that you do care. And we've all been in those situations where you could have just been helped by someone just showing you a little bit of empathy and compassion.
Yeah, and people really appreciate that sort of thing, and remember it for a long time to come. That's the professionalism of wearing a CFA badge on your shoulder, is showing that. Guys, you're still very quiet. You're just listening to, I could have done this as a podcast. We could have just given it to them. They're so
I
quiet.
did introduce it in between calls.
Well, I've already done Stu. He was very early in the piece.
Yeah, I know that, but
Oh, have I got a surprise for you this weekend?
And listen, I'm happy to go outside the box too. We don't have to concentrate on, keep it confined to incident control or incident management. If you got any questions regarding CFA and what
Remember,
I think about whatever.
Stu's been in ACFO over in Wangaratta. Were you in Wangaratta? Yeah. Here we go.
Andre.
This is the most crucial question you're going to get.
Oh.
Given the floods that are going in Wangaratta at the moment, have you seen where Yogi's up to?
Mate, I saw he was up to about here. and I saw someone had grabbed a volleyball and put a red handprint on it, and it is
very good.
Yeah. And Wangaratta, King River, Ovens River, when the water comes down and they come down at the same time from the back of Buffalo and the back of Mount Buller. Oh, boy, it's a sight to see.
Yeah, it's pretty well set up for it though.
Yeah, it is. And where I say to the locals, where do you reckon the water would go? And they go, where the water's always gone. There's a reason they call it Oxley Flats and not Oxley Heights.
Yep.
So yeah.
Is there any other questions for Stu? Speak now or forever hold your peace. They're busy holding.
We're in a bit of a different situation at Paynesville because part of our patch is on the other side of the lake over at Bullpool. So, in terms of getting across there, just to get across there and have a look is a sort of big effort for the whole brigade to sort of all chip in. And it's not just a couple of hour training thing, it's a whole day thing, organising the barge and that. But the other thing is we're a marine response as well, but there's not a lot of people left in the brigade that are actually qualified that way. So, how do we go around sort of resolving that? We can work with Coast Guard, we can work with the new Vic pole boat that's up there. But if we haven't got the members qualified, if we've only got 2 or 3 of them left in there, how do we get a bit of a push to try and get the course going? Because it hasn't been run in ages.
Gee, that was left field, Cam.
What's the course, Cam? What's the specific course you're doing?
I can't remember the name of the course, but it's marine.
It used to be marine response.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and it's something that Ross McGregor was pushing because he was one of the few people that was able to teach it. But I do believe CFA is doing work on that in the training department. It's more a training department question, and I doubt that you get anything out of them locally.
No, that's fair enough. I'm just asking because obviously Ilden, they've got the actual firefighting boat, so there's something.
Yeah, they do.
So trying to link the two together is one of the big things.
Cam, I reckon there's a real opportunity with the contemporary firefighting model because in the past, what we've traditionally done is that someone comes into your brigade and they go, I want to become I want to join the brigade. So they have to go through general firefighter. Then they have to go through the, maybe your BA brigade. So you got to get BA and then you go up to the specialist areas. But what the new contemporary firefighting model is you can recruit people specifically for a specialist skill. So they may not be your wildfire firefighters. So they come in and they do the entry level stuff, safety in the fireground, all that sort of stuff. But then you push them into a specialist stream. And they're doing this with RPAS, the drones brigades. They're doing this with MCV operators, mobile communication, the big communications bus. So they're doing a lot more of that. And I just noticed up here today, there's the headquarters brigade. So they've got a lot of people who have joined for specialist roles, not firefighting roles, not squirting water. So, mate, I reckon there's an opportunity in the future for that to help you. Beautiful area, Paynesville, too.
Oh, it can be pretty good.
Yeah.
We know.
Too many mozzies.
Yeah, no. I'm Trader. I'm on the other side. I'm Newland's Arm, so we're a bit more toffee nose here.
Any other questions? All right. You know what I'm going to do? I like to have a short meeting, and I don't mind bringing this in an hour. That's probably really good timing for you all. Thank you so much, Stu, for coming on. and doing this session with the guys and giving them this sort of update. A lot of times it's just information that it doesn't get shared, and it's like, oh, what do they do up there? What do they do? But being able to have a little bit of insight, and the stuff that Stu's talked about tonight, you're going to be going more in depth with next time, and you're going to be able to think about some more questions between now and then, and really dive deep into it, I guess, and see the DCC. That's going to be so exciting for you.
Yeah. Hey, listen, thanks for having me. And I like reading books. I like the TED Talks and all those sort of things about leadership, because I reckon I pick up something. But have any of you watched Ted Lasso? Ted, I tell you, Ted Lasso is it's on Apple TV. It's one of the funniest series I've ever seen, but there's some really hidden gems in there about leadership and how to bring people along for the journey and motivate them. And it's as I said, a great series. But yeah, Ted Lasso, remember that.
If nobody wants to stream it on Apple, there is a few websites you can watch it on, which are free. So you can save yourself, $120 a year.
Outstanding. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Great
I'm
program.
going to turn the when I remember how, I'm going to turn the recording off. Stop recording.